Hello, and welcome back to the Pretty Passionate Podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Ruth. We have a lot to talk about today, okay? Of course, as promised, I'm going to be following up with you about the Love is Blind continued episodes 7 through 9. We got through episodes 1 through 6 last week, and if you have not checked out those recaps, it's a two-parter. The videos are on YouTube and also on your favorite streaming podcast platform: Apple, Spotify, Amazon, you name it. But yeah, this is going to be a full episode because we've got a lot to talk about. Okay, so let's get started. Welcome back. First of all, I want you to know there's going to be spoilers for Love is Blind. I'm just going to say that here, and we're going to accept it. At some point, I'm going to let you know we're switching to that topic so you can tune out if you do not want to be spoiled for that. Pumpkin patch this past weekend with the kiddos. Fall is my favorite season because of activities like this. So cute. And of course the humidity stops, the weather is a little bit more tolerable. Still doing that weird thing where it's like in the 50s in the morning, but then the 70s or 80s by evening in Georgia. But I'm going to remain grateful for having seasons. But yeah, the kids, when I tell you they enjoyed it, the one we went to, they really stepped it up this year. I think we went 2 years ago to that one and last year to a different one. So 2 years ago when we went there, it was still nice, but it was more of a functioning farm with a pumpkin patch attached. And they made it cute with little rides, a hay ride, things like that, but there wasn't as much to do as there is now. Now it's a full-on farm-based attraction, and they have the tractor rides, they have fields of flowers to cut like fresh zinnias, which is like one of my favorite things, and we have some gorgeous photos from the day that we were able to take there. They had like a corn toss and all these little kid games as well, like those play school play sets kind of set up, as well as bigger, kind of slightly frightening slides with rock climbing walls and things that my kids were absolutely going nuts over. They couldn't get enough of this place. There was a corn maze as well, which normally I would not do, except my fearless daughter insisted on doing the corn maze. So we were like, corn maze it is. Thankfully, it was broad daylight. So I didn't have to worry about my first corn maze experience being replicated here. That was terrible. That was somewhere upstate in upstate New York with my college boyfriend and his family, and they love Halloween and they love everything about it. And I've always been terrified of being scared in that way, like, the Friday the 13th movies and all that stuff. It's not my jam. It's not my jam. But I like the fall pumpkin part of this time of year. So that's what we leaned into. But yeah, the corn maze was a very light and sweet, cute little corn maze. And my son was really proud to be like the line leader for the maze. He made all of the decisions and, kind of told us which way to go. A lot of the times he made a wrong turn, but thankfully it was an entry-level maze and we got out in time. And then there was a petting zoo with like goats and chickens, and there was a hog, but not one that was allowed to be petted. Oh, and a baby pig. There was a cute little baby pig, some ducks that ran away from us repeatedly. Light refreshments available, some kind of like cute little lemonade stand run by this adorable girl. It was all really wholesome, fall, fun. And it was just family after family out there, lots of little kids. Overall, very safe. I mean, I know I made a joke about the scary slide. It's just because I'm a chicken when it comes to watching my kids do things that might result in bodily harm of any kind. And I mean, it doesn't have to be high risk for me to have this anxiety. Oh, and the other thing about this particular farm, it's called Sleepy Hollow Farms in Powder Springs, Georgia, in case you're local and you're looking for a place to enjoy some fall festivities. It was not overcrowded. This was on a Saturday, so it was not like crazy crowded, even though it was a Saturday and I was expecting it to be insane. They have really good parking, and this also happens to be the site of Hopper's cabin. If you're a Stranger Things fan, then you know that, Hopper had that little creepy cabin that he and Eleven were living in the woods, and this is where that was filmed. So apparently the cabin is part of their property, and they have a separate escape the room activity you can do there. I'm not going to do it because I'm a chicken, I told y'all. Like I said, I was waiting in that broad daylight corn maze for someone or something to try to jump out at me like they did in the scary one I did in upstate New York. I mean, yeah, then we probably would have caused a scene. other pumpkin patch that we have been to is called Southern Belle Farms, and that's in McDonough. So it's a little ways away for us, and that's why we opted for this, which was much closer to where we live. But I really enjoyed Southern Belle Farms. They have a beautiful sunflower selection where you can go and like cut fresh sunflowers, and they're stunning, and it's just breathtaking to see them, just rows and rows and rows and rows and rows as far as your eye can see. They tons of pumpkins to choose from. We actually did buy some pumpkins for the front porch, and also my daughter has a project, so she had a lot of fun picking her little medium-sized pumpkin. Good family fall fun this past weekend. In other random life nonsense, okay, I don't know how to feel about this except annoyed that my image and likeness have been stolen by way of AI for some God knows what's in them vitamin brand to use on their social media to endorse their product. Yes, my name, or well, technically my name because it's on my scrubs, image and likeness have been used. And it's the creepiest deep fake thing I have ever seen. I never thought I literally don't think I'm important enough for someone to deep fake me in a video endorsing something, but there you have it. Okay, the voice is all wrong, the mouth is weird. It's an old video, so I don't know, I guess they were like, great, random surgeon who works in a field that is parallel to what we're trying to do. I think it's like some kind of vitamin mixture or something, supplements that are supposed to help with swelling. So, you know, in the world of plastic surgery, we're always battling swelling, but in no way, shape, or form, if you come across this video, is that me. And anyone who actually knows me, actually it was my patient who alerted me to it. She sent this to me and she goes, this sounds absolutely nothing like you. But I'm telling you, it looks like me, and that creeped me out. It was so creepy. It's me in my office, you know, everything. It's a video I shot in my office, diplomas behind me kind of thing. Like one of those informational videos I like to do, just adding value, minding my business, you know, being a Black plastic surgeon on the internet, just trying to put good information out there, and somebody just came along and took it and changed my voice, changed my mouth. Yeah, it's weird. And if you watch it all the way through, there's this really creepy part where something, I guess it's just an artifact of dubbing over my voice and changing the mouth and everything like that. There's something creepy that crawls out from behind one of my diplomas. I was like, ugh. In the real life video, nothing creepy is crawling out from behind my diplomas, let's also be clear. But for some reason it happens in that one. And I am just grossed out, and it's so creepy. And I reported the video, and I had like my friends and family report it, but it's still up. So I think I need all of like not all, but a good number of my followers to actually report it so that Instagram will take it down, because it's my image and likeness that they are illegally using. And I feel like it's just so weird that we're in that kind of an era, you know, where someone might see this product, see what appears to be a board certified plastic surgeon endorsing said product, come to find out it's a fake. What are we supposed to do with this as a society? Like, are there not going to be any safety rails about this kind of thing? I think that's the part about AI and people's obsession with AI that creeps me out, is that these side things that are happening are very potentially damaging and very potentially dangerous. I mean, think about the fact that this technology is only going to get better. It's only going to improve to where they can actually mimic my voice perfectly. Probably actually more expensive programs out there that this cheap vitamin company doesn't have access to can do that and make it sound exactly like me. You only need like a few consonants, like the plosives and the vowel sounds for a person to say in order for you to replicate their voice with really good AI technology. So I don't know. I'm a non-conspiracy theorist, but I edged ever closer to that, you know, conspiracy theory cliff. I consider that reason 1,646,792 that I am terrified of / little bit hate most AI. And then the way it's just like constantly everyone's trying to constantly look for ways for AI to replace people. I'm the opposite of a Luddite. I am not someone who's anti-technology. I love, love, love tech, you know, and any excuse to buy a gadget, my husband can vouch. I am obsessed. However, I feel like there's limits to what we should be allowing people to do with this. I should note that my husband's take on this is, I guess that means you're somebody. Like his ability to be optimistic is It's a talent. It is a talent. He's Mr. Optimism. If I ever want someone to immediately point out the bright side of something, I'm going to go to him. I am also like talented at finding the bad side, the downside, the reason to panic in a situation. So I guess we all have our niches, you know. But I went and told him, I was like, look at this thing. This is terrible. This is disgusting, you know, freaking out. And he's like, huh. I guess that means you're really somebody now, huh? If they're out here bothering to do a deep fake. And I was like, or, you know, I was going to find something negative about it anyway. If you happen to be following me on Instagram, I am going to post a reaction to this video showing you all where to go to report it. Please, please, please. I appreciate your participation in removing my good reputation from some shady vitamins that have to create fake videos to get influencers to help you sell them. Because, like, why don't you just get a real influencer? Or why not, I don't know, approach me with a real brand deal. Let me try some product and see if this is actually something good for patients that I would actually want to endorse and maybe even sell and make available if it's so great, you know? That's what leads me to automatically judge the product as probably gross and full of, like, lead. So if you see it, don't buy it because it's not me endorsing it. Okay. In the world of pop culture, if you're like me, you're very aware of what's happening in the Bravosphere, even if you don't like watch every single show they make, because there's so many. You've probably heard about the arrest this week of a Real Housewife of Potomac star Wendy Osefo. Honestly, how embarrassing. I'm embarrassed, like secondhand embarrassment for her, because I was in disbelief. Several people sent me the weird mugshots where they're smiling creepily at the camera. And for a moment, especially given the experience I was just telling you guys about, I was like, this is fake. This can't be real. This is like a terrible photo, first of all. I mean, their skin is popping, banging. Like whatever you're doing skin-wise, keep that up, okay? But the smiles and everything, I was just like, no, not real. Looks like a Get Out or that Smile movie poster. Not good. I believe these people to be like really smart. I mean, they are smart. Eddie's a lawyer. Wendy has like 4 or 5 degrees, including a doctorate and a couple master's degrees. So they're smart, highly educated people. And some of the stuff they're charged with having allegedly done just seems so off, you know, very unsmart, very not smart people action, which maybe points to the fact that they're not career criminals. Okay, so I'll give them that. They're not actually good at allegedly committing crime. So maybe good. Long story short, they're accused of committing insurance fraud. They went on a trip to Jamaica as a family. While they were away, their home was reportedly robbed, and they filed a police report and insurance claim asserting as much. What they're being charged with is staging and faking the entire thing and committing really bad insurance fraud. There's a lot of evidence that is not working in their favor, and I'll give you some examples. Okay, there's an email conversation in which Eddie asks Wendy to give him more items to list on the claim form that he's filling out, because so far he's at $420,000 and they want to try to max out the $450,000 maximum that the policy allows them to claim. Not hard evidence per se, but the way that is phrased is very shady. Like, come up with more stuff. What do you mean, sir? Is the stuff in the house? Do you have stuff? Or are you coming up with stuff to list? You know what I mean? Like, if it's missing, it's missing. I feel like if it was more innocent, it would be something like, hey, babe, I can't remember the list of stuff you told me that was missing. I don't know. I'm trying to throw these folks a bone. I'm going to say allegedly 1,000 times because everyone deserves their day in court. But apparently there was also a raid on the house the day of the arrest. That makes me feel awful for the kids, by the way, because I hope they weren't home, but they probably were, because like where else would they be? It was discovered by police, or it's reported to have been discovered by police, that like 20 some odd of the items listed as missing in the claim and police report were actually present in the home. Devil's advocate. One might clear this up by presenting some receipts for having repurchased said items with the money they got. right? They did get paid $450,000. Something similar happened with Kyle Richards. If you guys remember when she had her big robbery, this was many, many moons ago. Later on, reports were like, oh, but she's got this same ring, or she's got this jewelry, or what's going on with this? Like, she was seen with a lot of the items that were supposedly stolen. And her story was, oh, I actually bought this stuff back. And we all kind of collectively shrugged and moved on. So I'm not going to rule it out. Kyle's not in jail. So I'm not going to rule it out as like a possibility that they did just repurchase some of the stuff. But there's other not great things. If they did repurchase this stuff, I know there's going to be an Amex statement somewhere that will help prove it and exonerate them. But also not working for them is the apparent presence of video cameras and motion detectors in the house that picked up absolutely no motion, no one approaching the front door or the house from the street with their Ring camera, allegedly. I feel like they definitely should have gotten rid of those. I'm not good at crime like that. I'm one of those people that might mistakenly at this point commit crime, I got a ticket for holding my cell phone at a stoplight. I wasn't holding it I had that Apple CarPlay, and it was rerouting me. I was trying to, get to my braider. I was so mad about this. So I pick up my phone because I'm trying to re-enter the address. I was using Apple Maps like a dummy, and I was like, forget it. Let me try and see what Google Maps is saying, because Apple Maps was getting confused. And I'm at a stoplight, and this motorcycle cop pulls up alongside me and is like, that's. And I was like, really? I can't hold it. I can't. I was like, I'm rerouting my maps. She was like, no, you're taking this $50 ticket. But, my argument was we were at a stoplight. I was not actually operating my vehicle, but apparently I did look it up. And the law says even if you are sitting there idle, foot on the brake or car in park, you're not supposed to have the phone in your hands. Just a public service announcement. So I feel like inadvertently crimes can be committed. But aside from that, okay, the video cameras, the email, the, items being present in the home. To me, the most damning piece of evidence is that many of the items they allegedly claimed were stolen were actually returned to the stores for refunds prior to the robbery. And that doesn't look great. That part is not explainable easily, and that's what I think is probably the most damning thing. So it's not looking good. I don't want to see these two intelligent, beautiful Black people go to jail for something so dumb. But I have to say, unlike most of the time when this crazy crime stuff breaks on housewives, I feel this weird empathy for these guys. It might be, I was like, is it because of I identify with them? Professionals, certain age, Black couple, little Black babies. We have a lot in common, I guess, that way. Children of immigrants, et cetera, et cetera. I think I'm having that kind of thing, identification, empathy for them, but also maybe retrospectively more empathy for all of these women who go through this weird financial embarrassment on Housewives. Everyone except Jen Shah. Because I feel like Jen Shah was a case of crime, stealing from savings from old ladies crime. That is pretty terrible. I'm not heavy on the empathy for her. But for everyone else, Teresa Giudice and whatever, it feels like Keeping Up with the Joneses just gone a few steps too far, and that's unfortunate. And walk with me here. I know some of you are already, I can hear your eyes rolling and getting stuck in the back of your head. Imagine, it must be really hard to keep up with the financial demands of a lifestyle on a show that is about your opulent lifestyle. They didn't have the most opulent house or drive the most extravagant vehicles, but they had a nice lifestyle in a very expensive part of the country. So we can't disrespect on that. But I mean, the clothes, the bags, the shoes, whatever, that are kind of a requirement of appearing on a show like Housewives, I'm sure, paired with some of the alleged student debt that they were being financially hobbled by, as you can imagine. He's got a law degree, so at least a bachelor's and a JD, and she has multiple degrees, at least I think 4. So student debt for them is not something that shocks me. And then they are first generation Americans, families all from Nigeria, lots of people still living back home. I feel like we were given the impression, purposely or not, that Wendy's family and his family have very high expectations from them in terms of support. Financial support. Do you guys remember we saw Wendy's mother actually blatantly tell her allowance was late when Wendy was planning her, I think, 40th birthday party? They were all sitting at a table. Wendy's going over all the details, which is something, housewives do, talking about this, something they're planning or whatever. And like, she just straight up embarrassed her, like, all this talk about parties and where's my allowance. I was like, don't embarrass me. Like, that's table flipping upset. I would have been so upset. Why are you bringing this up right now on camera? One can imagine that even in that moment, I thought to myself, lady, she's obviously planning a very expensive party that is going to be part of her storyline on this show. Why are you pressing her for her allowance? Which I can't remember how much it was. Maybe it was something like $500. But still, she's got a lot of output going to put this party on. And here you come talking about your allowance. It's ridiculous. You're an adult. I mean, to me, it was the height of disrespect, but culturally, I've been told and I have seen evidence that this is very, very normal. And even in Haitian culture, you know, my parents are from Haiti. Thankfully, this is not my life situation. I like to spoil my parents. I like to treat them. I like to, you know, give them things because they gave so much to me. But do my parents require my financial support to live? Absolutely not. And thank God for it. You know, I think it makes relationships a little bit tough between children and parents when that's the case. And I'm not trying to blame Wendy's mom, but it just looks like maybe if there was more than one person doing that, like on Eddie's side and on Wendy's side, it's no wonder that they were feeling a lot of pressure, allegedly feeling a lot of financial pressure, and as a result, made some poor alleged decisions. At the end of the day, Eddie has a law license to protect. Wendy, with her many degrees, has her reputation to protect. I don't think being convicted of anything is going to stop her from participating in the reality show, but I do think as far as keeping those licenses and stuff intact, this could be very damaging, and for their kids. So hopefully we're able to get some clarity, like some receipts about repurchased items or something that will help them and their beautiful family move forward. Truly wish them the best, especially the kids, you know, because they're so little. Y'all know I love children. I have a soft spot for the children. I'm always going to be feeling bad for these kids, these TV kids who literally did not ask for this. They're not paid participants in any of this. They certainly didn't ask for their parents to get arrested. So I hope they're being surrounded by family and love and that they all pull through. And it just all turns out to be one big, insane misunderstanding. So, on to a different reality topic. So this is me warning you that we're about to dive into Love is Blind, Season 9, aka Denver, episodes 7 through 9, that second drop of episodes. So if you have not watched, it's been fun chatting with you. Skedaddle, please. All right, if you're still here, here we go. Episode 7 opens up. We are still in Mexico where we left off, and that stupid fight between Joe and Madison is ongoing. Literally, it's the most ridiculous fight you've ever seen between two grown-ups. Or I'm of an age where I'm starting to look at people in their early 20s and not really consider them grown-ups, so you'll pardon me. Neither of them seem to be able to articulate to the other what the actual issue is. Do you know what I mean? She found him blackout drunk in the bed after he left the party, after he made a fool of himself. She got worried about him because he was responding, but he wasn't, like, coherent. And this is hours after she left him, right? So he's still drunk. And Joe, who is still drunk, is still drunk. And he just keeps talking nonsense. And then he realizes what's going on and he's trying to clean it up by being like, what? I'm not drunk. What are you talking about? And it just like blows up. And she's crying outside and he's in the bed laughing about the fact that she's crying because he's definitely still drunk. And it just felt like their conversations sometimes just are so circular. But you're not listening to what I'm saying. I am listening, but you're not, speaking in a way that like, oh, so you don't like the way I talk? Oh, no, I love the way you talk. It's just like sometimes whatever. Like, it's just back and forth and nobody's getting to like the meat and potatoes of what the actual conflict is. So watching their fights can be very frustrating. So then they choose to patch it up the next day. They're back in Colorado and we actually get to see Joe's family, including his two sisters, and they meet and seem to really like Madison. So that was good. I mean, that was pretty easy. His family seems lovely. Most people's families seem pretty lovely on these shows. I mean, they're probably on their best behavior, right? But they seem like nice people, and they do seem to embrace her. And even though the family situation looks good, these two, their fights, their inability to communicate thoroughly and properly and be understood by one another is like, who's on first? Literally, every time they get into a conflict. It's literally watching a Who's on First skit, and you can't figure out what even they're really arguing about by the time like a minute or two goes by. Try it again. Like, watch another fight if you can stomach it of theirs, and literally try to summarize from what they've said, what they're arguing about. It's not really possible. I will tell you what I think they're arguing about. The subtext here is that Joe is not into Madison. He's not attracted to her, and he's spinning out as a result because he's like, am I going to be forced to have to continue this charade with this girl? What's crazy is that's causing him to kind of mistreat her or be a jerk to her. And I think he wants her to break up with him so that he doesn't end up looking as horrific as like Casey, just breaking up with someone because you don't like the way they look when you were in an experiment called Love is Blind, right? And I feel like that's it for Joe. I don't think there's really anything else to it. Madison, on the other hand, is seeing all these signs, and she's aware that he's immature, he's not treating her properly, and I think she just, like, for some reason, she won't say it to herself. It's like she needs him to say it. She needs him to say it, even though I'm sure Madison understands this man is not that into you. She keeps going back to anytime she's talking to people about it and like kind of what's off in their relationship, she's like, but the sex is so incredible, and this and that. And I'm like, when will women fully grasp and understand that men and women are very different when it comes to sex? He's not attracted to her, but he could probably still have very enjoyable sex with her. You make sense of it. I don't know. I'm not a man. I'm not a penis holder. I don't know how that works. But I know a lot of guy friends who talk about, in their wilder days, hooking up with girls that they did not find attractive at all. It's like there's a disconnect there where that one can function without really that one agreeing that they are visually as stimulated as they might want to be. That's enough. Okay. Hopefully these two break up before the altar because they're so obviously incompatible, and I just don't want to go through the whole thing with the father and the mother and the getting ready of the bride when we know how this is going to end. There's literally no chance that both of them are saying yes. If anything, maybe Madison might be deluded enough at this point to say yes to this guy because I don't see what she's still in love with, but maybe the sex. Everybody in Mexico was like, it's the best I've ever had. I was like, oh gosh. I was like, you guys, that's so cute. If it's the best you've ever had, do you really need to go screaming about it to the mountaintops that it's the best you've ever had? I don't know. Annie and Nick, what can I say? Annie's a hairdresser who, for some reason, her hair is never fully together. It's never even partially together. It's always tons of extensions, very matted and ratty looking, just lots of maybe Aquanet and teasing, no brushing, it's not even a messy bun. It's just always big, though, and lots of hair for her little body. Yeah, she's always rocking kind of like a mommy drinks look. The mascara is always a little smudged. It almost always looks like she partied hard last night and then just got up and went about her day. Is kind of the thing. And it's so confusing to me because she's a hairdresser. But I don't know. There are people like that. And it's always interesting. Like, imagine a practicing dermatologist touting their expertise, running around with just pustules all over their face. I mean, the occasional breakout we're all going to get, no matter what our profession. But, if you're a dermatologist, you're a skin expert. I expect you to have a little bit of control. You have all the tools in your tool belt. As if I'm a patient and I walk in to talk to you about my acne and I'm looking at you and you're just covered in them, I don't know that I would be reassured, personally, that the course of action you're recommending for me is going to work. And that kind of translates to my feelings about Annie as a hairdresser. But I digress. So they get to finally visit Nick's notorious mountain house that he's been talking about, being a mountain man, and he's an outdoors guy and all this. And I have to say, it is not the rustic little cabin set back several acres in the woods that I envisioned from the way he was talking. I thought we were pretty well going to walk up on a yurt set apart in some acreage, just evergreens all around, and it's like a really steep drive to get there, kind of scary maybe at night type of drive, and there would his house be in a small clearing. Sir, you got a little ski chalet, and it's lovely. Don't get me wrong. It's beautiful. Actually, I would definitely rent it on Airbnb and have stayed in homes like that from Airbnb. So you walk in, and it's immaculate, and it's got the mountain vibe decor. He's got a attached garage that's got all this outdoor sports stuff, the kayak, canoe, everything you need to participate in outdoor activities is in that garage with medals hanging on the wall. And I could have sworn he said he was he participated in the Olympics or the Junior Olympics, or maybe I misheard that. And then there's just this little random classic convertible vehicle sitting in the middle of the garage. And I'm like, what's this car doing here? Yeah, maybe that's just his car. I don't know. But it just seems like an odd vehicle choice for Colorado and for a mountain house in Colorado. I could be wrong. Maybe it has 4-wheel drive and I don't know. But it just felt very staged, very, very staged. Almost like the house is an Airbnb and they're just waiting for some guests who are then going to throw this up on Instagram and talk about how much they love it. It just didn't feel like a lived-in place. The only questions that it left me with is like, where does he actually live? Where is Nick's actual home? Does he still live with his parents? No shame in that, if that's the case. But I just feel like this is a property his family owns, active on Airbnb, and some internet sleuth is going to discover the listing, and he stays up there. Sure, his family owns it, so he stays up there a lot, maybe, whenever it's empty. But this is not his primary residence. Like, something is off there. Or, alternatively, the insane, unlived appearance of this place is explained by the fact that he's a serial killer. Those are the only two possibilities. It's an Airbnb or he has bodies in a freezer somewhere. I mean, I don't think he's an actual serial killer, but there is a part of me that is like, what are you hiding, Nick? Why are you so... His stoicism, I guess, always comes off a little bit disingenuous as well. I've met stoic people, but there's usually a couple people that they are themselves around, and I have yet to hear him talking to Annie like not like the inside of a Hallmark card. It really just raised more questions for me than it did provide answers, but... Annie gets to meet his family, and they are also nice, but also a little bit robotic. And I was like, well, maybe in this context, Nick makes more sense. Everybody's kind of like this, except the brother. The brother was sitting off to the side. The father barely said a word. I don't even actually think he opened his mouth. The brother was sitting off to the side, kind of looking confused and almost like he didn't want to be there, but then I think he said a word or two. They look nothing alike. I think the brother might look more like the dad, and Nick looks like he's his mother's spitting image. And his mother is basically like reciting poetry about the perfection of her son, to the point of being a teensy bit, like it was cute. As a mother of a boy, I understand that, he's always going to be your baby boy, and even when he's grown and brings home a woman to marry, that's still your baby boy, right? And I get that. But the way she was just showering Nick with this effusive praise about being like the most perfect child, and like your other child is sitting right next to you. I was like, is that not her son as well? And also he has red hair, which made me chuckle. Cause like, is he literally the redheaded stepchild? Stop this right now. But yeah, he's sitting there too, and I'm like, I don't know how chill I would be about listening to my mother talk about how absolutely flawless and perfect and the most perfect daughter my sister is, while I'm just sitting there literally like the redheaded stepchild wondering, what, okay, all right, you don't want to wait till I walk out and go get something to drink? Okay. So anyway, they're either like really faking and putting on for the camera, or maybe they're like borderline serial killers who have not acted on their urges yet. All kidding aside, there is something just not super genuine feeling about Nick and his relationship with Annie. Like, it's either that, like, the whole my theory, or they're like the Flanderses. Remember the Flanderses from Next Door on The Simpsons, and like how they're just so wholesome and squeakily so that it's almost annoying, like they're nice, so you can't like hate them, but there's something odd about their level of perfection, I guess. My jury's very much still out on whether or not two of them were going to get hitched. I think 2 weeks ago, it's crazy because 2 weeks ago was like, absolutely, I think they're going to go all the way. I think they're well matched. Now I'm not sure. Also, I'll separately talk about the Pod Squad meetup and all the stuff that happened there. But did you catch how much the other guys don't like Nick? I think this is part of what's compounding my present opinion. Is like, I had my misgivings about the family meetup in the cabin, but then to see how the other Pod Squad people reacted to Nick and how they talked about him, in particular Joe, who's clearly a little drunk, was spilling tea. He's like, none of us, we can't stand the guy. Like, he's such I don't know, he's so fake or something like that. And, I was like, okay. Like, Joe is the most vocal, but y'all remember, even in the pods, when Nick came back to the men's quarters and announced his engagement, they had like no love for him. They were actually just sad for Brandon, is what really was happening. And then they kind of relented and congratulated him, but no one celebrated his engagement, which is very telling. What was being held back there? I'm looking forward to the reunion discussion about why these guys are all pretty unanimously not interested in Nick as a person. Because usually the guys have these adorable bromances and they just love each other, they rib each other, they behave like they've known each other their whole lives, and then they continue in friendship, keep meeting up, hanging out, that kind of thing. This is a different turn, so I wonder what is behind it. Okay, on to Edmund and KB. Y'all know I'm off this. I've been off this couple since like episode 6 with that breakdown he had about not being able to have. It's interesting because now she's KB more than she is Calabria, and I like Calabria. I think it's a pretty name, but I get the sense that like she is this season's AD. They were beloved by their entire cast. Like everybody who came in contact with them loved them. They're beautiful, gorgeous, shapely, warm, just like this an inviting spirit. You can definitely feel the warmth even through the camera of what she's like, and not fake at all. But also, like AD, KB is in a relationship with a man boy. It's like, on the one hand, well done Netflix for capturing that magical black woman that we're all gonna fall in love with again, but also negative marks, Netflix. Why couldn't we find her some real love, a good love? Like, ugh. Like there was this British guy in the pods. I can't remember his name, but he had a British accent. He was black. And I was like, did they ever meet? Like, were they ever interested in each other or just nothing? I don't know. I don't know what that guy was looking for. I don't know what he's into. We don't get to see those cutting room floor pieces, but I was just like, was there no one else for our girl KB? Edmund is just, when they got to the apartments, and your boy, because I don't claim him, your boy Edmund decided he was going to fold himself up and put himself in a cabinet. Like, on the one hand, I was sad because he's like, I've never had cabinets before. And I was like, dang, never had cabinets before. Like, and I'm reminded of how difficult his childhood must have been. But also, what are you doing? Get up out of that cabinet, sir. I've read some theories online about his behavior. And some people think he's on the spectrum, which maybe. I don't think I'm willing to say that because I have no ability to diagnose this guy. I'm not a specialist, and even a specialist would need to meet with him more than once to make that conclusion. So I'm not endorsing that. But I did see an interesting theory about like kind of arrested development due to his trauma. Like he went through so much going from home to home to home to home and then back to mom and dad and then back to the homes and stuff. That is terrifying and traumatic on a level that a lot of people would not come out of it even as productive as Edmund is. He is a functioning adult realtor, right? A lot of people will come out of that not functioning. But we do see this immaturity in him that some folks are attributing to the trauma he experienced at such a young age. He almost emotionally stopped developing past that age. It's an interesting theory because some of what he does is just, you can't just chalk it up to, oh, he's zany, he's fun-loving. There is something more there, but I don't have a diagnosis to propose. Then we meet Edmund's mom, and baby, she came to visit us from Delulu Land. I was fully prepared, by the way, to have a ton of empathy for her because we are already privy to her very troubled past. Courts do not constantly remove children from the presence of their parents, especially their mothers, unless there is something deeply dangerous, wrong going on in the house. We don't know what was happening, but you can draw your conclusions from that very real reality. And this happened to him multiple times, as he said. Even once or twice. Something's going on with her. So I was prepared to have all this empathy for her. I mentally prepared my tissues, like to sit there and hear her talk to KB in a very real way about he's had this past, thank you for loving him, and I wasn't able to, be there for him as much as I wanted to, but I'm trying now, kind of thing. And I was prepared for that. I was. What I was not prepared for was for her to roll up into their apartment and start lecturing KB about the value of the son she raised. Excuse me? Come again, raised? My eyebrows were also raised. How did you raise him, ma'am? Sorry if that comes off harsh, but you didn't raise him. He was in and out of foster care. So what are we talking about? You raised him and what you raised him to be and the value of what he raised him to be. I, again, commend Edmund that he turned out great for the background that he recounts. But yeah, that annoyed me. And then why does she keep talking about Ghana? Are they a family of Ghanaian immigrants who found their way down to West Virginia? It's not impossible. I'm curious. I'm going to leave some space for that being the case. Something tells me, like the way she's rolling and the way she's presenting, head wrap and all, she did her Ancestry.com and has gotten really excited and embraced her Ghana blood percentage wholeheartedly. And she's like visiting Ghana, and she's like, I hope you get a chance to visit. And I was, does she live there full time? No. So good for her, I suppose. I want to have a house in Ghana myself someday. So I get it, but she just was laying it a little thick with the Ghana stuff. Also, the part about KB needing to be a good daughter-in-law by keeping her secrets. What secrets, ma'am? What secrets? She just met you. Why are you asking her to keep secrets about you from your son? Weird, strange, definitely not initial meeting conversation. Yeah, it just raised, again, more questions than it did provide answers. And after this interaction, I really hope KB will just bounce. He got her some rollerblades, and we did see a scene in the preview that for the next batch of episodes, we gonna see them rollerblading at a park together. And so I already know it didn't happen immediately after this scene. She did not immediately go to her room and pack her bags and leave, especially because we saw them later at the party. But they too have a moment at the pod reunion that is epic. From the beginning, KB has been calling him out on like comparing his relationship, who's the best, who's the strongest relationship, who whatever, right? And she very wisely said to him at one point, and I literally am like tucking that away in my like, I'm gonna use that later. He was comparing himself in some way to another couple, and she said, she just whispered it like fairy godmother style. She's like, admire, don't compare. And I was like, dang, girl. Bars. Because that's exactly what you should do in life, right? Because comparison is the thief of joy. No matter how much you have, someone always has more. No matter how much you've achieved, someone has always achieved more. No matter how pretty you are, someone is prettier. You get the point. So the best thing to do to maintain your sanity and happiness in life is to avoid comparison wherever possible. And you can admire someone who has done more, achieved more, or is prettier or whatever than you, but leave it at that. So she's gotten on him for this more than once. But at the Pod Squad reunion, someone says something nice to their partner. I can't actually remember. But someone said something nice to their partner within his hearing. And he was like, oh, wow, you just praised him like that? Wow, that's so nice. It must be nice, like, for your girl to, like, praise you like that or put you up, like, on a pedestal like that or something like that. KV heard this, and baby, it set her off. She was like, I am done. Do not talk to me for the rest of the evening, and stuck to her guns. He kept trying to, oh, but I love you. And she finally put her foot down and was like, when I'm trying to tell you about something, I don't want to hear, but I love you. That's not what we're talking about right now. That social work background really shows up sometimes when she's dealing with him. It shows up in the level of patience she has with his shenanigans, and it also shows up with her ability to have a tense discussion or argument with him and not be sidetracked by antics. She leaves him on red. She's like, don't talk to me. And she goes on to try to enjoy her evening because she's that livid. And I have to say, although what happened in that moment was annoying and she had asked him to stop doing that, it makes me wonder if the source of her anger is not something bigger that we didn't see. Because you know how these producers be doing. Cameras go down and then they have this big argument that we're not privy to. They have to sleep and stuff, I guess. So, but yeah, it makes me wonder if like between his mother's visit and the Pod Squad reunion, there wasn't some kind of blow up that has her, with that last straw, on her back, because she did react swiftly and firmly to what happened, but I felt like there was more of a lead up. Okay, Allie and Anton. These two are still my front runners for like most likely to make it down the aisle, but two small things. The drinking is a big concern for her. She mentioned that he has a beer after work daily, and I'm like, okay, he works nights, so after work for him is daytime, an hour at which some of us might raise an eyebrow to see someone just immediately go for a beer. Then when they met his friends, like they don't meet family, they meet up with like his best friend and his best friend's girlfriend of like 4 months. Immediately the friend is like, let's tie one on, like let's get wasted. And I'm like, it's like lunchtime, I guess. If you don't have anything else you're doing. But yeah, it's just weird that the friend immediately is ready to drink with him. And then the hot mic moment with the friend's girlfriend, they went off to the bathroom and they're chatting like, listen, I've been around 4 months, and before I got here, it was strip clubs and booze. That was their lifestyle. So just FYI. And you can see After that, Allie is like sitting on a bench looking like dazed and confused. She's like almost, you can think, not sure if she wants to go back to the table. So I'm not laughing because I think it is important if you see just certain little lifestyle patterns that your partner is exhibiting that are uncomfortable for you. Absolutely, prior to marrying them is the point at which you should bring that up, discuss it, get a better understanding, try to approach it with an open mind, etc. But I think this is the time to interrogate those feelings for sure. I will say, like, what a hater, the girlfriend. I guess I'm grateful for her because she's opening Allie's eyes to a potential issue if he does in fact have maybe an unhealthy relationship with alcohol. I'm not like willing to call it alcoholism or, whatever, because I don't think we've seen evidence of that. And also in his defense, have y'all ever tried to drink with some Russian people? Here I go being devil's advocate again, like, their livers are built different, okay? It's certain ethnic groups. I mean, me and my lowly little Caribbean liver, we can't hang out. Like, if it's not rum, I can't fool with it like that. So, yeah, I've made the mistake of trying to keep up with some born and bred Russians when it comes to alcohol, and it just didn't work out for me. So maybe he just has like such a tolerance that really, who knows? But either way. Not making excuses. If he does have an unhealthy relationship, I think she should absolutely interrogate that before saying yes to this man. And then the thing number 2 that I think might trip them up is his concern about money. So they're both very gainfully employed. She's a travel nurse. I'm sure he earns a living wage. He's a logistics trainer, and it sounds like he trains like truck drivers, which is fantastic. Lots of job security. I'm sure he earns a great living doing that. But he doesn't seem comfortable with the idea of trying to let Allie keep herself in the lifestyle to which she's become accustomed. Key example, the woman is, y'all have eyeballs. She is body, face, hair, what's missing? And she's a nurse. I guess like when I look at her, I would assume, I guess this is also a bias of my profession, I would assume she's doing some maintenance. Why? Not because I think natural beauty doesn't exist. And I am going to eye roll here because people get a little stuck on natural beauty. I think natural beauty exists, and I think that people can look beautiful without enhancements. But the majority of extremely attractive people that you are looking at and admiring out there, not comparing, admiring, have had something done. Be it a regular schedule of facials, red light therapy, microneedling, microdermabrasion, VI peels, Botox, fillers, the vampire facials, you name it. Beautiful, glowy, gorgeous people out there are doing stuff. And I don't just mean celebrities. So he's sitting here before this flawless, beautiful woman, and she's educating him that she's got some maintenance. She does a little filler, does a little Botox. The Botox is every 3 months, if you're not aware. And it's a few $100s every 3 months if we're just talking Botox. There may be, again, hydrofacials or something else going on here that has us looking at this gorgeous model. So if you like the package, you have to also accept what she's telling you has resulted in the package you're looking at, is my point. So for them, I think it's best if they just keep their finances a bit more separate than some. Like, just because you're married, yes, have a joint account from which you pay household expenses and agree upon what the contribution is going to be. But in their case specifically, I think it might be best if they still are able to keep their own separate bank accounts so that she just has her money to do certain things with and not having to have that oversight that he may be more than willing to provide about what she's spending on. So, how do you guys feel about that? I know some people who are so adamantly against separate bank accounts, like we're one household and blah, blah, blah. And then some people who that's their lifestyle and it works for them. I'd be interested to hear what y'all think about how that would work for Allie and Anton. On to Sparkle, Megan, and Jordan. Okay. I really want to like these two together, but I cannot. I'm sorry. So they met her family, her mom and her sister, and her dad recently passed away, as you guys may recall. Off camera, she met with his ex-wife, I think, or ex-girlfriend, who is Luca's mother. She hasn't met Luca yet, and we're made aware that Luca's never going to appear on camera, and I'm like, kudos to them. Everybody seems to be getting along really well, which is great. I will say I was surprised at how receptive Megan's family was. I think she just comes off a little bit more cold and or a little bit more calculating or not as warm and receptive, I guess is the better way to describe her. And so to see her mom and sister who are not like that at all, it was interesting. But they're also kind of like that mystical belief family that like they believe a lot in omens and signs and crystals and whatnot. And no hate on everybody who believes that way. But the sister had a dream that the deceased father, who passed away from complications due to type 1 diabetes, was saying something about a boy with diabetes in this dream. And then she came to learn that Megan's fiance that she's bringing home from the experiment has a son with type 1 diabetes. And for them, that was the clincher. And then also for Megan, just the fact that Luca has type 1 diabetes is like, it's really giving her a strong vibe that this is the right man for her. And that not only that, it's that her father's angel or his force, his energy has brought Jordan to her life so she can step in and care for Luca. And I think that's sweet. I do think it's sweet. But, Luca's not this kid who doesn't have a mom, so I don't know. I worry sometimes that she might ultimately be disappointed about her role in Luca's life. But yeah, they take this all as a sign from their deceased patriarch. Maybe it is. I don't know, but they are definitely a group of people who believe in that kind of thing. So, okay, now let's talk about the money elephant in the room. Jordan warned her that his abode was very humble. He takes her to his 1-bedroom apartment, which he sleeps in the living room, and Luca gets the bedroom, which I thought was very touching and very sweet. Jordan is a great dad. I've not seen him interact with Luca, but the way he talks about this kid and the physical evidence of how he lives with his son. I mean, he gave him the entire bedroom, and the son is not with him full time. He does not have full physical custody of Luca. And so the fact that he's willing to sleep in the living room so that Luca can have that stability of his own little bedroom all the time, I mean, very sweet. And there's no negative judgment in my opinion that he chooses to live kind of frugally, I'm thinking. But it does raise concern, or it should raise concern for Megan about, is this a choice or is he unable to afford a 2-bedroom apartment? Because some might argue that this sweet gesture is lovely, but he could also have gotten maybe not a huge footprint, a huge square footage, but an apartment that has 2 separate bedrooms to avoid this situation. Because meanwhile, Megan is touring $2 million houses, and it's just so obvious there's this disconnect for them financially that definitely shouldn't be ignored. I can see that Jordan is apprehensive because he's standing in this house. He's like, who wouldn't want to live here? And he never expresses anything that sounds like maybe one day he might be able to afford this kind of home on his own. So yeah, I just think that they need to have a come to Jesus of sorts about money. Because unlike Allie and Anton, this isn't a quibble about how I'm going to spend a few $100s every, couple of months on some little skincare stuff. This is a big lifestyle mismatch. If she's going to buy this house, it will be because she sells her house in California, and the proceeds from that home will help her to afford this home. And she's got her business going, her wellness company and everything. She's got a startup. Maybe she's got some investors. She's riding really high financially. She just seems really to feel very financially secure. I don't know that he will ever get there with her, and that could present a problem. Also, side note about the pod reunion. Were you not quaking in your boots when Mike walked in? I was like, uh-oh, this is it. This is the end of Jordan. Because Mike he's not that classically handsome to me. I'm just being honest. Aesthetically, there are improvements that I would love to see him make if he were someone I was trying to be in a relationship with. But he's tall, he does have handsomeness, but he also has this confidence. That's what I think is actually his attractive about him. He has this almost cocky arrogance, but also is able to connect with her and show interest in her in a way that is slightly vulnerable. So it's an interesting balance that I think makes him probably attractive to a lot of women. And he leads with money, kind of. He leads with success. I'm sure, that guy walks into a room, he turns some women's heads. And so I thought, first impression, oh shoot, when she sees them side by side, this may be a problem for Jordan. But when they do their little sit down, side note, I hated her outfit. What? She looked like she was being choked by that sparkly rag. Anyway, when they sit down, I could see them together as a couple. I could see them together, having the life they described in the pods, and it would work, and they'd probably be motivating each other their whole lives and happy and working on their fitness and biohacking and all the things. And they fit really well. And she actually makes a point dang, Mike looks like guys that I would absolutely have gone for in the past. He did make a serious play for her. And to my great shock, she didn't bite. She was the person I thought would be the most interested in someone aside from her fiance, and she didn't bite. Maybe she has learned lessons from people of the past who have gone to these pod reunions misbehaved and subsequently been completely skewered by national opinion come reunion time. But I don't know. To me, it actually didn't come across that she was genuinely interested in Mike at all right now. Like that she was like, yeah, he looks like who I would have dated. And now I've decided consciously to do something different. So I will say good for her on that. But I don't know. If these two make it all the way to the altar, I think it's going to be like Luca, who's the MVP here. Luca is going to deserve all the credit, and I hope he at least gets to be a ring bearer. I don't know. Maybe not. I don't think they're going to have him on TV, though. All right, so on to the pod reunion. Some stuff I didn't already cover about the squad getting together. Okay, we all knew Casey wasn't going to show up. I doubt she will even come to the reunion. Let's be real. She's already online saying that she's getting death threats and, doing that thing. Girl, we saw the tape. The producers rolled the footage, that beautiful, beautiful bean footage on you, saying that you're not going to be attracted to him, you're never going to get there, and then saying something totally different to him, running and jumping on him and kissing him and misleading him to where he comes to that to the pod squad meeting still confused about like what actually happened with you because you ghosted him. Like I predicted. You guys never even spoke after that. So I'm not a fan of hers, but I will say though, chill people, it's not okay to give someone death threats over some entertainment. This is freaking TV. Like, calm down. Okay? Relax with the death threats. That's crazy. She didn't kill his puppies. Okay? She dumped him in a way that implies maybe she's a little superficial, shallow, all the things you might want to accuse her of. That's fine. That's fine. That's all a matter of opinion, but no death threats. That's crazy. But when Patrick comes in, the way the guys all respond to him, it was so heartwarming. He's clearly the fave in the men's side, right? So it's him on the men's side and KB for the girls. And I'm like, hold on just now. Wait a minute. Why can't they get together? Literally, as I just said that, I'm like, whoa. I think they would make a really amazing couple, personality-wise. Chewing this over a little bit and thinking about their personalities and kind of the way they carry themselves. They seem both to be very empathetic, nice people who I'm shipping it. Both so attractive. Ooh, those would be some cute little babies. Approved. Okay, I digress. Maybe they will get together. Seriously, I showed up to the pod meetup to see Patrick finally meet up with Anna and talk to her and find out what the hell happened, why she just bounced without talking to him and all that. And I have to say, for as long as I waited, because I think she left episode 3. Here we are in episode 9 or whatever. This was the most unsatisfying conversation. I wanted Anna to just step back and see him and be like, damn, my man, I made a mistake, Nothing. I wanted her to try, or maybe to suggest that they should start seeing each other. Nothing. Her excuse for the whole thing is that well, you were also in love with another woman and you turned around and proposed to her. And he's like, yeah, after you left without even saying goodbye. Yes, then I was devastated. And then, yes, I did lean into my other connection. And what's hypocritical and dumb about that is because even when she left, Anna had 2 strong connections. Blake and Patrick were both looking for her. Blake's connection with her was so strong, or I guess it was his only strong connection, that after she left, Blake was like, well, then forget it. And he left. So the nerve of her to try and shame him for having 2 people that he was very much into and could have proposed to, when he's telling you to your face that you're the one he was hoping to propose to. And then, yes, as I said before, he definitely settled for Casey, but then, committed to the relationship. But it's just so weird. I get annoyed when they get upset about their love interest having another love interest, seeing another person and juggling feelings while you're doing the exact same thing. And it's they purposely keep trying to forget exactly how the show works, exactly how the experiment works and why they're here. And it's just such a lame reason for her. So I don't know. I really liked her, but I'm over her now. He seemed earnestly interested in perhaps linking up with her at the party, and she just kind of paid him dust. So poor Patrick. I hope what happens is due to the show, the internet sees that he's a babe. He's a sweet, nice, tall, seemingly gainfully employed guy. And they just descend upon his DMs with all the hotness and singleness that the world has to offer. Real, sweet, nice, kind women who are also struggling to just find the one, He cited the cultural, ethnic concerns about dating in Colorado, and I believe it. A year from now, there's 0 reason why he should not be married and on his way to having a family, now that the world has been able to see Patrick. If not then baby, I hope you have moved to California or to New York. Those are your assignments. Period. Other pod reunion stuff, Nick and Kate, do we really care? I can't say I care too much about these two getting together and talking because my investment in Nick is just like dwindling down and I don't feel like we're getting to know the real Nick. So I will say he apologized to her for the way he ended things because it was not nice. And it was kind of crappy the way he ended things and why and the way he like kind of built her up like he was about to propose. And it was just like, nah, psych. What I also liked was it felt like we saw everything, you know? Aside from that one thing I'm wondering about KB and Edmund, if there was something we didn't see, I feel like we've seen everything. And now we know there's not going to be like too many surprises or hopefully not too many surprises or things that happened off camera at the reunion. Because that irked me to no end the last couple of seasons where key and crucial things were happening off camera. That like this giant argument between like, what's her name? Was it last season? Alexis and I can't remember the name of the guy, but the girl Alexis that we really liked. She was like really pretty, really sweet, really great. She had this huge fight with her fiance and it was off camera and we didn't see it. But that was like a critical turning point in their relationship. So it sucked that we didn't see it. I feel like we're not getting as much of that and that I'm grateful for because it makes it way more interesting. And yeah, I think that's all the news that's fit to print on that group of episodes. What do you guys think so far? I'm honestly really enjoying this. It's giving me like season 1 vibes in terms of the people who are on there. I don't know if it's just the air in Colorado, but unlike, there were a couple people who I felt were genuine in the last few seasons, but there were just so many people that I felt were on there to try to blow up their careers as influencers and weren't actually looking for love. And this season, I don't feel like we have seen very much of that at all. Maybe Nick. He's the only one that I'm suspicious of for real at this point. I think it's because like maybe the group is slightly older. You know, it's not as many like 22-year-olds running around in this group. And then also, seemingly every single person, when I run through the couples in my head, every single person has like a serious career that is not based on them being a creator or an influencer. So Nick is the only one I'm like, question mark. But the rest of them seem really grounded in their careers, and I think that is actually making the show so much better for me. They're behaving like adults who have something to lose, and I just like that. I think it's much more relatable, at least for me. It makes me believe their love connections a lot more. So yeah, it's giving season 1 earnestness, right? Because in season 1, they didn't know what to expect. They didn't even know if anyone would watch this show. They didn't know a pandemic was on the way when they were filming that. So yeah, they didn't know America would completely fall in love with all of them, right? So there was an earnestness about what they were doing that I think hit the skids a little bit. Much more enjoyable, much more real. The realness is kind of why I liked the UK version too, because I think I got the same sense. Like a lot of these people have like real careers and real lives that are not based on their popularity. And so they are behaving like out of their genuine emotion and feeling and not out of a desire to flip this into an online career. So I can't wait. The next batch of episodes is coming and I'm going to watch it. And then that's definitely what we will be covering next episode of the Pretty Passionate podcast. Thank you so much for listening. As always, I ask you kindly, please like, comment, and subscribe on YouTube and wherever you get your podcasts. And that way you'll be alerted whenever there's a new episode and it helps with our visibility. Also, please share with a friend or family member who you think would enjoy our weekly group chat. Lovely talking to you again. We will talk soon. Okay, bye.